Some of the people that experienced many of the challenges, worked through them, and many of those moments here with us on this show. It is LA County Supervisor from the 3rd District, Lindsey Horvath, whose district includes the Pacific Palisades, Malibu, nearby unincorporated areas as well. Many structures lost there. Supervisor Horvath, thank you for being with us on this week. And I got to say, great hat, too. It kind of says it all.
Thank you. There's a great shop online that had a beautiful pop-up during the holidays, but they are still available online, and definitely support our local businesses in the Palisades.
It's an important thing to do, and I have a feeling we moved some of those hats right now as people see it. You're wearing it well, and I'm sure, I feel like you've worn the struggle through all this very well as well, showing up for your constituents. We spoke with you so often during the fires, and there's so much to reflect upon as well. First of all, a year. I mean, I feel like in some ways to you, it must feel like it's gone very quickly. In some ways, it must feel like an eternity as well.
It is sort of both. And I was with Secretary Omishakin today from the state, transportation, of course. We were in Topanga, and then we went up to Malibu, looking at progress that's being made from a Caltrans perspective, and still the challenges and infrastructure that we're facing after, the recent weather that we've been enduring. So as we think about, what we do next, it's important to remember that a lot of work has been done, and I'm grateful to the people who have done it. But until our residents are home, until our businesses are back up and running, until people feel like that community is back, we've got a lot of work to do.
Oh, there's a lot to talk about with respect to what comes next. And you've commissioned a blueprint for LA and rebuilding, which we can talk about in a moment. But it's also a week in which we'll be reflecting on what happened. There's been audits and investigations, congressional, state level, California. There's also the city looking into some of LAFD's moments from staffing and pre-positioning and reservoirs that may or may not have been online. I mean, what's your big takeaway with respect to the crisis, the management of it, from these investigations and what else you've heard and seen?
Yeah, well, I think the big issue is people want accountability. And that means they want answers to the questions that they've been asking now for almost a year. It was, fully my expectation that we would have had a combined after action reporting process with the city. And we know the city declined to participate with the county's report. Which it's just challenging on many levels, not the least of which is people can't heal when their questions are left unanswered. And I know my team has been calling out to our residents in the unincorporated area of the 3rd District, where we are leading the effort in recovery, speaking with residents in Sunset Mesa and Santa Monica Mountains areas. And they want their questions answered. They're not going to rest until they fully understand what happened, how we got here, and what we're going to do differently to make sure that it's a community that's safe for them to return to.
Yeah, I mean, people are putting the pieces back together of their lives, and in part that means rebuilding from the ground up, and there's so much to talk about with rebuilding. I suppose first and foremost, let's talk about the pace of rebuilding. I'm looking at the dashboard here. This may be the most recent data. Tell me if I'm reading it wrong, but I'm seeing roughly 37 permits issued of 635, or 206 rather, that are applied for in the unincorporated area of the Palisades, which is a percentage which is sort of in line with the larger county. And people compare that to previous fires, and they think about this pace now. What's your take on how we're doing with issuing those permits?
I'm hesitant to say that we're moving rapidly, because I know for many people it doesn't feel like that, and I don't want them to hear something from me that doesn't resonate with their experience. But the truth is, not only are we moving faster than we have in LA County and a recovery process on fires, we're moving faster than just about any disaster that this country has seen. And so, that is really a testament to everyone who stepped up to make the debris removal process happen quickly with our state and federal partners, everyone who was working diligently with their communities to work collectively to make sure we weren't doing this property by property. And we really have to think about our recovery that way if we want to move quickly, which is why our blue ribbon commissioners that were focused on what were those problems we're going to face, and how should we be preparing and strategizing for them. Their recommendations, really speak to a lot of what we're seeing play out right now. And so I'm grateful to them for the work that they invested in this report, which gives us guidelines on how we can be taking action. And I know that the one that got the most attention was the Rebuilding Authority, because we sort of need to centralize how this is working. In the 3rd District, of course, we have three different jurisdictions who are leading what recovery looks like, and that can be confusing for people who just want us to be coordinated for them. But I also know that people are very concerned. There's a low level of trust, and so they want to make sure that things aren't being rushed past them. So,
Yeah.
we have to make sure that we're listening to people, even though we've said things many times. It might be the first time that somebody's hearing it. We really have to move with a lot of patience, give people a lot of grace and support, and know that this milestone that we're coming up to this week is really going to bring about a lot of feelings for people. And we, as I said, have a lot of work to do, but we most
Yeah.
importantly have to make sure that our residents know we're not going to leave their side.
The Blueprint for Rebuilding, which you in part convened this commission in conjunction with some of the research and input from UCLA, in part one of the proposals to establish a resilient rebuilding authority, also to create a fire control district with permanent funding for these
Yes.
sorts of issues and the crises that we've seen. When people hear about these recommendations, what needs to happen to see some of these things come to fruition on a county level?
Well, one of the things that we've already done is put together our disaster recovery financing district. We did one for the 3rd district, one for the 5th district. I know other jurisdictions are looking at what they're going to do, how they want to make sure that the investments that are being made in these areas are actually coming back to them in terms of dollars and cents invested for infrastructure and more. So I know that the fact that we got that done last year and we're off and running in terms of envisioning what all we need that tax increment financing to be able to do for our district is incredibly important. But we have a lot more work to do, making sure that the coordination happens. I know our Sunset Mesa residents, part of the beauty and charm of their neighborhood was everyone having a view into the ocean, and so I know that the neighborhood association is working hard to make sure that those CCNRs are being adhered to as buildings are being rebuilt. But I also know that we were happy that we had at least one family who was able to rebuild and be back home for the holidays just this past month. And we expect to see more progress in the months ahead, working very closely with our
Yeah.
residents to make sure that we're meeting their expectations.
And Supervisor Horvath, I know this is a week where there's a lot of feelings, a lot of
Yeah.
reflections. You'll be very busy. We all will be thinking about what happened and the ways in which we can move forward. You, in part, are commemorating all of this with a community picnic at Pepperdine. Just tell people about it this weekend, especially because people want to get together and to really talk about what happened and what comes next.
Absolutely. I think one of the things that we really need to do better is create space for community to share, to tell their stories, to know that they're being heard in community, and to allow that process of healing to happen in part by grieving, but in part by also reconnecting with the people who are longing to be back in community with each other in that physical space. I'm grateful to our partners at Pepperdine who are hosting with us. I know that they hosted residents after the Woolsey fire. We're going to be bringing people together for lunch, for some healing and art activities. It's really for people to have a healing space to come together, to know they're not alone, to know what resources continue to remain available to them. They can ask questions, but this is really about hope and healing for people and for the community to know that we're all here to support them.
And we're thinking about all that we experience across all of these fires that week, including the Eaton fire, but your hat says it all. Palisades forever. Thank you so much for taking the time this week. There's a lot to think about and reflect upon. Happy to have you. More conversations to come.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you so much. Supervisor Lindsey Horvath from the 3rd District talking about 1 year since the Palisades fire, the Eaton fire, and of course what comes next. That picnic at Pepperdine this weekend, and we have much more come up here tonight and throughout the course of the week with respect to the fires. Stay with us.